Hi, this is Ron Moorhead. You're listening to Hastings County Sasquatch.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to Hastings County Sasquatch. We have Phil from the Brantford area. He's had an experience a couple times in his life. We're going to ask Phil to tell us what's happened. And we got Chris here with us, and Phil's on the line. Phil, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
Hey, good to hear you, Phil.
Good to hear you too.
So yeah,
we've talked a lot on the phone.
Yeah, we talked before regarding your sighting. You're a fisherman out in the Grand River. Flew the drone over the area, got some footage, and
we'll see it here. Yeah.
Put it up right now. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, when did it happen? When did it happen? Start with that.
Oh yeah, one happened 2019, like November. It's like Friday. I think it was a Friday because usually I took off Fridays and went fishing. Where I parked, there's a little road you go down, park at the end of it, and then you can access the river by cutting across an old gravel pit, and then follow the trail, and then get to the river to this specific run. And then I remember when I got there, there's usually people there fishing too, but this day there was nobody. It was just me all alone, and I thought it would be like probably a really good day, which it turned to be interesting. Got there, and I just remember it was like leaves were crunching, crisp morning. Just felt like something was going to happen. Started fishing. And then partway through, wasn't long into it, and that I just felt like I was being watched. And I remember looking around. I remember my fly was in the water at that point too, because I stopped doing everything. I'm looking around, looking down, looking across the river and that, and then looked up, and then I saw them.
How many?
And two were there, and they're hunched over at the edge of the river, and you could they're far enough away, like they were 300 feet, but I don't even know if they were 300 feet anymore. Like I think it was closer, but like not like 100 feet or anything like that. But you could see them reach out their arm and then pull. Either they're pulling, I just assumed they were pulling water to like taking a drink.
Mm-hmm.
So they were crouched down at the river, taking a drink. And then there's a big one and a smaller one. And the big one, it's like when it stuck its hand out or its arm, it just was so long is what I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
And then pull it in, take a sip, I guess we'll say, and then do it again. And then the little one, which wasn't that little, would do the same thing.
Were there eyes on you at this point, or did you notice them first?
Were there what?
Were there eyes on you? Did they notice you there first, or did they seem to notice you being there at first?
I don't know if they noticed me or I noticed them. I just felt like I was being watched.
Okay, they probably saw you.
They did their thing, and I watched it for a couple seconds. And then I remember looking at them, and it was like silvery, you could tell the skin was like gray.
Mm-hmm.
And then the hair or whatever was like silvery dark at the top, like along, like you could all see through it, you know? And then watching them again, and then I looked back at the river, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? And okay, worst case scenario, I have to go in the river and get to the other side. It's over your head there, you know, when you get out deeper in that.
Yeah.
And then I turned around and looked, and they weren't there.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Were they on the same side of the river?
They were on the same side of the river
Okay.
as me. Yeah. That's why I was like worried about like, okay, what's going to happen here? So I looked, and they weren't there. And then I just remember, like, at that point, everything went, like, it just time froze. and I felt like something was saying, like, put your head down. I put my head down, and then there was this deep, like, exhale growl, like, from up in the bush, which is like maybe 30 feet up from the riverbank.
Okay.
I heard that and froze, like I said, I froze. I didn't whiz my pants or anything like that. I just, like, I froze in the water and then started crying.
So
and then it was done.
You heard look down in your head, or like a mind speak?
Well, I don't know if that's what it was or not, but it was just like, don't look up.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm not looking up. I don't want to know. And it was just like this, but it went right through you, that growl, like right through. Tears started coming down. Like, I wasn't bawling, you know? It was just like I teared right up, and yeah, it scared the daylights out of me. And then after that, it seemed that whatever, you know, they passed. I would say they went by me at that point. Or maybe that was a lone one down there that came up and, like, told me, or, you know, I don't know. I really don't know. I just know what I saw. And then I stayed maybe a couple minutes till I felt like coast is clear, and got out of there. And got back up, and, like, there's no cars here. That was not a person, you know? Because I remember when the growl happened, I was like, oh, there's a homeless man in the bushes. But I would have seen him. Like, this is a stupid thing to think. You know?
Yeah.
So after was just like, yeah, I couldn't get it out of my head. And every time I thought about it, I'd tear up. And anytime I told my family when I got home, and, like, I was a mess. You know, sleeping sucked for quite a while. And, you know, that's all that was on my head. Like, all that was in my mind was just that went on. Fishing. I'm not going anywhere on my own, kind of thing. And I did the one day kind of go out and made it, like, went up on the Saugeen River and made it up maybe 100 yards, and, like, forget this, I'm not doing this. Just rattled me that much.
I think the most bizarre thing is the fact that you're fishing very close to populated areas. Like,
yeah.
I think there was, like, some sort of distribution center right opposite the parking lot right there, with trucks going in and out, and you got people, I know, hikers and bikers and cyclists going in and out of there all the time. And there's a new survey being built in there, so I just think it's absolutely bizarre that they're that close to the city.
Yeah, and when I was there, they weren't doing any construction on that bottom, I guess, like the floodplain, you might want to call it.
Great place to build. Great place to build houses, by the way.
Yeah, I hope it gets all wiped out. Well, I shouldn't hope that. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
When you plant trees.
What was that little park at Chris and I were at? Is that, I'm not sure if that's the point you went in where we flew the drone a couple months back, but
yeah, like Hardy Road or something like that. It's on.
Yeah,
it's a little. You access the trail from there. It's a trail point.
Yeah, two big distribution centers there. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were only building those ones, I think, back. I think they were just in the middle of construction or starting when I had my thing go down.
Yeah, I was up there.
But the funny thing was, like, you know, I went in another time and I was by myself, and I felt like I was being watched there then too. So it was an odd spot, in my opinion. Like,
well, I was up there yesterday, and I did another quick little flyby with the drone. I located that great big giant boulder where you said they were reaching out, and that's a good little landmark because it was easily found, because the biggest boulder around, I take it that's where they were, in and around that area. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
And then I was downstream from there, just like at where it starts to speed up. And then, you know, like I went as far as, like, starting to like just Google or, like, on those Facebook Bigfoot groups and all that, and just do searches like Grand River and all that. And then when I did on the other one, what is it, Ontario Sasquatch, he gave me an email of a guy that found a footprint on Whiteman's Creek, which is on the other side of the river and upstream.
I know where that is.
He sent me a picture of that footprint that the guy took, and that was a big footprint.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that wasn't somebody in like a size 13 wading boot, because it had toes. You know.
So from that distance, when you're seeing them drinking, anything interesting, like, so that really stuck out in your mind that, hey, this is like totally weird. What's going on here? What is this?
Just the length of their arms. The length of their arms, the mass of them, like the size of the body and all that, you know, that arm, you know, like reached out so far, like, you know, you almost were like, that thing's going halfway across the river. It wasn't doing that, but it was like, that's not like my arm's what, I don't know, 3.5 feet or whatever an arm is. These arms were like double, easily double and massive. Like even at, they were massive, like baseball glove hands.
Wow.
You know, there was no, like you couldn't make out like, oh, eye color was blue or whatever kind of thing. It was just like massive arm, massive hands, you know, and they were drinking. They're just like doing their thing.
Could you recall what color? Any colors or?
Well, just like the body and that was like gray, silvery. Forehead was kind of like a gray, you know, like not like a dark gray or a light gray, just gray, like skin. I guess that would be skin, I'm assuming. Like it wasn't hair. Yeah, I had no idea. I'm like, what is, like that sense of being watched was overwhelming, and in them, and then staring up there, and then seeing them like I said, reach out and take a drink, or were they eating water striders? I don't know.
Yeah.
But or minnows, were there minnows there or something? Like what had their attention, or maybe it was just water, right? No, they were in that crouch the whole time. And then I turned around, tried to figure out what I would do if, you know, something happened, something negative happened. And then I turned around and looked again, and they weren't there. And that's when that's when we got the growl and, you know, keep your head down.
We were talking on the phone, and you sent me some interesting pictures about cobs of corn, like jammed in the rocks.
Yeah, I talked to a buddy.
Yeah.
Yes, I talked to a buddy. He's a trapper who used to trap, and his thought was that's probably muskrats were stashing cobs of corn down there.
Yeah, it's possible.
He said there's probably a muskrat house nearby, and they're just stuffing them down there for the winter when they can't get out and it's iced up. And that's well, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But further down, you go down this run and you fish, and you head around the corner, or you know, I headed around the corner one time just to see what's up further away, and I busted through the bush. Like it's like, I don't know, 40 feet of scruff and crud and all that stuff. But I jumped in off the river, and right there it was like a 20 or 30 foot circular area that was just pounded down flat, and it wasn't a deer bed, because deer usually, you know, you can see like bed here, bed there. This is like flat, like rollered down. So that always struck me as odd there. Like, there was just always something odd going on there. You know, and that might have been nothing, but I don't know. It's just.
This episode is sponsored by Project OverWatch, a GoFundMe initiative to put professional thermal drones in the hands of Ontario Sasquatch researchers, thus enabling them to gather information in the field from above in a less intrusive way, where difficult terrain, forest density, and impassable watercourses prevent in-person on-the-ground investigation. If you would like to contribute to this initiative or find out more about Project Overwatch, there's a link in the description below to the Project GoFundMe page.
Have you heard of any other sightings in that area in your research?
Well, there was, like, further down Brantford way, there was a sighting there on the reserve.
Mm-hmm.
at one time. I read that. I don't know how long ago that was. And then you read more, and there's like ones on Niagara, on the Escarpment near Niagara Falls and that.
Yeah.
So all that, like, you look at that and you're just like, well, anything could move up and down that river and just use that as a corridor. Yeah, there's towns to get around and all that, but there's ways around everything. Thought, like, if a deer can, like, walk by you and you don't even see it, you know,
why can't they?
Something that much bigger can probably, like, do it at night, obviously. Or, you know, or just crouch behind an old cedar tree. Like, it's pretty easy to stay hidden if you want, I think.
Just stand still. We'll walk right past
Yeah,
it.
stand still, yeah. Yeah, I know. How many times have you been standing there and a deer takes off? Or, I was out for a walk the other day and, like, just standing, looking around, enjoying everything, and, like, a turkey just blew up in front of me. Like, it just scared the hell right out of me. But I'm like, you know, I probably looked at him, and he looked at me, and, like, I got to get out of here.
We did talk about, I guess in younger years, about one of the kids in the area saying something about the monkey man.
Yeah, there was one guy when we were growing up, and same thing where I grew up. I grew up further upriver, just outside of Waterloo. And then back then, there was no building on the river or anything like that, houses and parks and everything. So it's super changed, but, you know, this is early 80s and that. And he would say, did you guys see the monkey man? And we'd all, like, we would do, like, whatever, like, what happened to me, mock him, right?
Yeah.
You know, but he would say, yeah, he would see the monkey man. And we're like, what are you talking about? He goes, it's this huge thing that looks like a monkey. And then it looks like a man. It's a monkey man. And that, and, you know, kind of blew it off. And then I know, like, one time I was fishing, and same sort of thing. Like, my parents just let me, you know, back then you could just run wild, right? So I just fished the river. I was allowed to go so far down the river, and that was that. And fishing, feeling like I was being watched. I would call it the same similarities of what happened. It was like I felt like I was being watched, looking around, didn't see anything, it was getting dark, went home, and my room faced backyard, which faced onto the bush, which led straight to the river. And I remember looking out my window, and there was one standing there.
Really? Okay.
And it was looking up at me. And it probably would have been 8 feet tall, at least.
Standing right in the open, or just into the trees?
Yeah, like, it was dark. There's a couple pine trees that were growing there. Like, it was just dark enough that, you know, twilight, I guess you want to say, or, you know, like, you could still see everything. Hairy, like a moppy, scraggly, wide shoulders. You know, looking, like, watching, and then, like, I remember walking to the other side of my room, and I walked back, and it was still there. So it wasn't like I was like, okay, you guys are playing tricks on you, because it was still there when I came back. And then, like, I remember, I think I left my room, or I did something just to get out of there and that. And but I guess that would have been the monkey man, right?
It seems like they know who knows from all the things that I've read and heard, and now you saying that. So,
my take on it is, like, once you're known to them, they know you know, and they know where you are.
Yeah, psychic connection, maybe?
If that makes sense. Like, not like they know, like, I live at blah, 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 but they know, if I was out there, they would know. Like, almost like, you know, you they put those collars on bears, and they know where the bear is at any time.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the opposite of that, right? Like, they just know, you know, you're 2236 or something like that.
Yeah.
That's my thought.
It's not a new thing. It seems to be happening to a lot of people that encounter these beings. So,
what's your thoughts, Anna? What do you think these are? Where do they come from? And, like, what's your opinion?
I don't know. Like, originally, I would have said, like, okay, I was like, you know, North American upland gorilla, you know? But then, have that happen, 2019, you know, and it's not far out of town, right?
yeah.
And it's there, and then it's gone, and where did it go? And then the other time when I was younger, and it just like, I don't even know now. Like, I just think they can do whatever the hell they want. Like, they don't work on our logic.
Or even on our
like
plane of existence.
We think they maybe, we think in our terms of how things should be, but I think most of the time we're probably wrong anyway, just not willing to admit it, and these guys operate on a whole different level.
You might be right. Yeah.
Nobody knows yet, but we're getting there.
No, nobody knows. Yeah, so it's whatever you want. But yeah, I think totally. I think it's just I guess I expect to have another run-in at some point.
Yeah, I think we do too.
They always pop up again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Even there's a place I go for a walk, and all the trees, I still haven't figured it out. I mean, and not everything's related to this, but it's just, and I talked to you about this too in the winter. It's just a spot, and there's dude put a tree stand up, and he made a shooting lane, but then beside the shooting lane, there's all these balsam fir and all that are busted off at various heights. And then you're well, did he get an ATV in there? Well, he couldn't, because there's nothing else is broken. It's these things are snapped off at they're 8 inches around, snapped off at 2 feet high or 4 feet high, or, various sizes, and then just snapped at the top, 8 feet up. It's just weird. What the heck happened? And you almost picture it as, you hit my turf or whatever, just went berserk kind of thing, I don't know. You get out there and you start looking, and then everything is kind of well, what's the real story here? And maybe there is none. But these are small, it's not anywhere I've found weird stuff that I don't understand. It's not these massive walk into somewhere else, or parallel to, That's kind of what I think.
There's a paranormal aspect to them.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I do.
And like I said, maybe some can, maybe some can't. Can the dog man do this? Can they portal? Can they do that?
Yeah, there's just enough weirdness. How come, I'm sure they've got one somewhere, or, but there's just enough weirdness that it's they still haven't caught up to one, or got one physically, and maybe you never will. I just think these guys, they operate on a whole different level, and they're way more intelligent than we are. Maybe they can live off the land wherever and do whatever, where, we wouldn't make it a couple days without a gazillion items, right? It's for sure interesting. Yeah, I had I don't know, I think we talked about that too when I was up Meaford Way there, when I did a hike, and I had a stone whipped at me.
Yeah, we should get into that.
Yeah, well, that was that was COVID. So 2021. I went up to see if I could do a hike, and then I went up, took a trail. I took the dog with me, and then scoobied around the trail and all that. Started going up the escarpment, and I heard a big thump. I'd almost say it was like a car door slamming. But if you Google Earth it, there's no parking. Well, at least I didn't see any parking, or there's no side roads there. But a big thump onto the ground, I would say. And then I got up top, and there's 2 branches on the trail. One branch was old, poplar branches, and they're about 2 inches diameter kind of thing. One was old, lying on top of the trail, and one was brand spanking new, that day, lying on top of the trail. Basically the same branch, same style of branch, not one branch and then a log. It was both were branches taken off of the same tree kind of thing. but they're both laying the same way. And I got like totally, okay, I'm not supposed to go past here. And then the dog kind of started to get a little weird too. So we turned around and I said, I'm leaving, and then started going down the hill, and a stone went whipping past my ear. Like I heard it like, and I felt the air, and then it hit a tree, and we got out of there. But I know there's been, like up there's been a bunch of sightings and stuff, or you know, reports, I guess is the word. But it felt weird too, like right from the get-go, but it was more me trying to do a trail and not lose it.
Anything else? You brought a couple things up there. Do you have anything other memories as you're talking?
Yeah, don't hold back.
Well, just like weird stuff that I don't know. So I don't know. Like when we were camping way up and in the tent the one night, and something was looking in the tent, and I still don't know what that is. Like it wasn't a person, you know.
Like through the open top or a window at the side?
We were up by Timmins, and it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I had the tent open because it was hot as all get out. My youngest was with me, and my wife, and had the top open enough because I don't like having it wide open, just because I feel like somebody's just gonna come over and watch you sleeping, right? You know. So I had it open enough, and I woke up, and I was like, same sort of thing, like when I was on the river, frozen. And I looked, and I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, why am I seeing the pine trees through the tent? Like this tent had a vestibule out the front that goes out 4 feet. And I was like watching, and it would go down and it would come up, and a big curly mop, you know, and then it would go down and then come up again. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? And she's asleep, but my youngest, he wakes up, and he had his little stuffy with him, and he like grabs my hand and he goes, don't let them take paw. And he saw it too. And then it left, whatever it was. I don't know what it was.
Don't let them take what?
They don't let them take paw. Paw's his little stuffy.
Oh, okay.
And I'm pretty confident in what it was.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like that confident. But it was just, you know, and then I got up in the morning, looked around. The ground was like solid, so there's no footprints. Like I went looking for footprints and around the campground and all that, nothing. But then lying there, it's like you couldn't see any trees because of that vestibule or whatever you want to call it, the overhang from the fly, because it went out 4 feet. We even set the tent up in the backyard the one day to kind of redo it all. And it's like, no, there's no way you could see a tree branch.
So there was no way that could have been a person looking up, because I guess it
wasn't a person because it was a black face.
And
the
height required to look through the top vestibule.
The height required, like I'm 6 foot, and you know, it was like crouching down, and then it was up, and then when it was standing up, it was eye level with, you know, like it was looking in. So it had to be higher than me to have your eyes like where the zipper, you know, where the fly was, the window was open.
Gotcha.
This was a big tent, like you can stand. It was 7 feet. You know, it's like, well, might as well be a trailer. Excuse me.
Well, that's enough there to make you have to wash your underwear out in the morning.
Yeah, well, yeah, and then she's like, oh, I didn't hear a thing. And then my youngest, he's like, what was that? You know, he was scared. And then my other kid, he was in another tent on his own. He sleeps with an axe anyway, so. Oh. He didn't even wake up either. So it was just us two that were awake that woke up for it.
Did you guys pack it in after that day or no?
Actually, we ended up going to Grundy after that.
Okay.
Because it was a noisy till 11. And like, if I want to go camping, I don't want to be listening to everybody else's music all the time.
Well, what provincial park was that you're at?
That was at, what's the one outside of Timmins?
You just mentioned Grundy, and we're familiar with that. We were just there 2 weeks ago. So.
Yeah, it was, I can't think of the name of it. But it's just outside of Timmins, not Pothole, not Kettle Lakes. I'd have to look it up. But anyway.
Oh, no big deal. You
can Google it. But they were, and then when they were out at night, they said, they said they heard tree knocks. Like they would hear on one side of the lake, whack, 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 and on the other side of the lake, whack, whack, whack. And whether or not that was that, I have no idea, because I wasn't there to hear that. So
yeah,
it freaked them out enough too. And then that was, but then you got the Grundy, and it was, Grundy was like fine. There was no nonsense or anything. Yeah, pretty comfortable in what I'm pretty sure I saw. I just don't have the 100%, like no picture, no nothing. Just there's no way you could see pine tree branches, like in the tent, coming through the tent, because we weren't even near a pine tree for that matter. Like all these things that's the thing that I find, you just make up so much stuff trying to disprove yourself, like, oh, it's pine tree, or oh, it was this, or oh, it was that. But like deep down, just don't really.
You go through several possibilities, and if it keeps coming back to Bigfoot.
yeah, it wasn't a bear. Definitely wasn't a bear. Like bears don't have moppy, like this is like moppy hair, and it just up, look in, go back down, up, go back down.
I wonder why they do that.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
I don't know. Maybe they're like, I can't be seen if I do this slow enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, anything you read about that is like, that's, going behind trees and stick their head out, go back. But it was slow. It was like it wasn't like a fast movement or anything like that. It was slow. Like I'm watching you, and then gone. Like you got nothing there either. You're sleeping in a tent, like, yeah.
I don't know if anything's going to get through that tent. Might as
Not
well hide
even
under
a
the
millimeter
covers.
of nylon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. That's all.
The latest encounter happened that close within the city limits.
Yeah. I'm sure, like really, like if people were more open, I bet you there's more like that.
When they were walking by you, which direction? To the south?
Yeah, like down. They were walking downriver.
Okay.
Yeah, walking downriver.
So heading right into a deeper populated area.
Yeah, but then that's the thing I don't get either. It's like that's where the whole. Okay, is there something else there that they can walk into? Like you can walk out of it and you can walk into it, and nobody knows it's there. I think there's that stuff's there anyway. Different dimensions in that. I firmly believe in that.
And also, historically, there's been some limited mining along the shores of the Grand River, like back in the 1800s, I believe. If there was a cave system or something they were getting into, maybe, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'd have to go and hop in a canoe and check out the whole Grand again.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's, I think it's like even when I was saying there earlier, reading other reports, there's reports in Conestoga of big rocks getting chucked at people on the river. And that, I remember, this is a friend, but he would go up to McGregor Bay up on, way up there on just off Georgian Bay. And this is, 30 years ago. Or more. We were just 17 or whatever. And he told me a story that they were like motoring out around into this bay, into McGregor Bay, and up on a cliff, he said they just started getting bombed with boulders. Like he said, they're huge, and they're coming. They didn't see what was throwing them, but they were coming up and by the sounds of it, it was like a cannon. He said they were just getting whipped over and landing just not too far from the boat, and that totally freaked him out. So.
Time to back off.
I think that, there's probably lots and lots of people that have had weird stuff happen that are just.
And some may not even associate it to this phenomena, this being.
Yeah.
Because they're not supposed to be there. So.
No, they're not. And you know what? They're not supposed to be there, but they are.
Yeah.
So.
And we all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even listening to other witnesses, we get all sorts of different things happen to them. Sometimes some things are similar to other witnesses, or even our experiences for that matter. Like we'd see, I hate to say it, but it could possibly been portals open up when we had flashing lights coming out of the ground, lighting up.
Oh yeah, that too. I told you about that orb, that time.
Oh, go ahead, yeah.
I told you about. I remember when we talked about that too.
Yep.
We were where I live. I live in a town, and we were up talking to my middle guy, and I looked at the window, and an orb, like
a ball
I don't
of
know
light
if you
or
want to
something.
call it an orb. Yeah, basketball size, red, went bouncing down the street. Not like bouncing, but like up and down, maybe like traveling 6 inches, kind of span. And it just like went down the road. And at the same time, my oldest, his room's in the basement. He had an orange one go through his room and out the window.
How did
Figure
they go
that
through
out,
walls?
because this is all stuff that all happened after, like this when this close encounter I had and that. So I mean, I think it's all related and that. And yeah, no, it was an orb. It wasn't a drone. Definitely not a drone. Definitely not like. It was like just this doo-doo-doo, and it was peaceful. It was super peaceful. There was no meanness to it or whatever. It was just like I looked out the window, I'm like, holy crap, there's an orb. And it just do. That's what went through my head, kind of thing. But yeah, there's lots of stuff I think that we don't even have a clue about.
Daryl hasn't seen his ball of light yet, but I've seen mine, and it came right by me, about the size of a beach ball, basketball, like yours. Mine was a blue light. It floated probably about 4 or 5 feet off the ground and right by me, 15 feet away.
Yeah.
So, Daryl,
So what are they?
Yeah.
What are they? Like,
I wish I knew. What about ghosts and other paranormal stuff?
Yeah, we had a house that was weird.
Do tell.
We moved away from that one. Oh, there is just weird stuff that happened a lot. Like middle of the night, the dogs would go berserk, and they'd be barking at nothing. They'd just be in a corner barking their head off. And then I remember one night, there was when my littlest was in the crib still, and you could see a bright light under the door. Because we didn't shut the door. Like you just kind of kept it closed a little bit so you could sleep if we were back and forth. It was a bungalow, and there was a bright light under the door. Went in. He was awake, very upset, distraught, and then he was pointing at the ground, and he was like, "Get it out of here! Get it out of here! Get it out of here!" And it was like this thing that, it looked like a 4-foot caterpillar, and it went whipping out of the bedroom.
A 4-foot caterpillar? Really?
Yeah. It hit me on the leg on the way out, and yeah, I don't know what that was. I don't even want to dare go there with that stuff. That was weird. That house was weird. It had lots of weird stuff.
How thick was it? 4 foot
How
long?
thick was it?
Yeah, was it like a couple inches wide? Was it?
It was probably like a foot, like girth kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a picture of it somewhere that I drew.
You drew, okay. Maybe send that into Chris if we can include it here in the video.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'd have to find it. But yeah, my wife saw weird stuff. Everybody saw something weird. Everybody did. And then we just kind of left, got moved away. And
just because of all the weird things in the house?
Yeah, there is like my one kid, he was like, the one night he's like, there's an old man that sits up in the corner there every night and watches me. Like, what the heck is that's just, yeah. And it's okay, it's nothing, and then you'd hear something on the roof, not in the attic, on the roof you'd hear something moving across the roof, like loud enough that it went through, like you could hear it, so it didn't have a steep roof, it just you couldn't climb on it. Like, I don't think it was people. I'd be pretty stupid if it was. Well, I don't know. I really don't know. You just heard on the roof. And then we would lie there and listen to it and like, what in the world is going on here? And then the dog's going berserko. That's too much at that point.
Yeah.
And then there's a house 2 doors down, and they would have a door slam like 8 o'clock every night, all the time. Like, so it was a weird road. You know, everybody had a little something weird to talk about. Yeah.
Wow.
That's bizarre. What town was that in?
Oh, I don't want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any town, Ontario.
Any town. Yeah.
We'll talk off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's like, yeah, I think where you build, you know, I think sometimes you're building in areas you're just not supposed to build.
Yeah.
Could
You
be.
know.
I was just thinking the
This
same
house
thing.
is from the 70s and that, and like, you know, some places you're not supposed to be there, period. You know, and then you do, and well, there's a price for that, I guess.
Well, that's been pretty amazing, though. Your stories here is a little bit more than I thought. I'm glad we kept you talking.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely stay in touch.
Yeah.
We're loving this stuff. This is great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's, yeah, I want to get out and find out more. That's for sure. It'd be fun to get out and go with somebody so you're just not like on your own.
Terrified.
You know, well, maybe not quite terrified, but like just too scopy, you know, like not everything is something.
Yeah, of course not.
You know?
Always good for safety. 2 people. For sure.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you like twist an ankle or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'd like to just get out for walks. I'd like to get back up to the Bruce where those tree branches were and just, you know, because along there, I guess on that trail, there's like, well, like it's the escarpment. So there's lots of rock where it's like channels almost, like you can walk in between, you know. So it could be little cavies and stuff sitting in there. Like,
There's got to be. There's a lot of people that have the theory of cave systems. Like, and my question was, do they build them themselves, or are they already pre-existing lava tubes, sort of like things that are ancient? It's kind of a weird question for me. Yeah, it's underground systems. I'm like, wow, okay.
Yeah. Like even when we've gone hiking over Eden Mills and all that, you're hopscotching over the rock and all that, and you're like, well, you know, you look down and where's it go? I mean, maybe it goes nowhere, right? But you're just like, I'm not going down there for one thing. I don't want to get stuck, but you know, who knows? Or maybe there is nothing there, but entertaining that thought.
Well, just keep an open mind as you do.
Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing else, I guess we can let you go for the afternoon here.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Definitely stay in touch. This has been fantastic. And of course, we'll let you know if we have any of our own experiences. We'll keep in touch with you as well.
We'll post it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for reporting to Chris and I, Daryl, on Hastings County Sasquatch.
Uniting forces, 3 Sasquatch research groups joined together to fundraise for thermal imaging drones. For years, we've been scouring the woods for evidence and analyzing data to uncover the truth and gather information about Sasquatches. But we have always faced some major challenges, as Sasquatch are incredibly elusive creatures, and it's difficult to spot them in the dark or in thick foliage, but it's not impossible. However, our methods have proven successful in the past and regularly. Having thermal eyes in the sky will play a key role in the future. That's why we need the latest technology to aid our ground crews in their surveillance operations. Ontario Sasquatch, Hastings County Sasquatch, and Upper Canada Sasquatch have joined forces to purchase 3 thermal imaging drones. As Ontario is 1.5 times larger than the state of Texas in landmass, we plan to base these assets in 3 key locations in Ontario where we have identified hotspot investigation areas. This will provide quick deployment opportunities without having to travel long distances. Our goal is to provide both ground support for surveillance operations and provide overwatch for our night operation teams. These drones are equipped with both state-of-the-art thermal imaging and visible light spectrum cameras, which can detect heat signatures from up to 200 meters away, making them ideal for spotting Sasquatches on the move. They'll provide us with the critical intel we need to plan and execute our missions, along with high lumen searchlights to illuminate subjects and target species, to capture video evidence with conventional video cameras from above. We are launching a crowdfunding blitz on podcasts, videos, and social media platforms to raise $50,000 in support of this mission. We're asking for your help to make Project OverWatch happen. This project will move forward and will occur. We will not be deterred by the opinions of naysayers and self-proclaimed experts that have produced nothing new to date. Expertise is important, but is not the only factor in determining the success of this project. Our team members have a unique perspective, approach, and methods that we believe set us apart from others in the community. We are confident that our project will be successful, and we invite you to be part of this upcoming discovery. We invite you to play a key part in making history with your contribution. No matter what amount you pledge, large or small, it will make Project Overwatch a reality. Help us unleash the power of technology in Sasquatch research. See the links below on how you can help. Thank you for your support.